Flooding throughout the city of Amarillo has residents questioning how land is designated as a floodplain, how often land is revised, and how that impacts property owners' insurance. Today, we spoke with city officials and FEMA to learn more. KAMR Local 4's Maya Clark has details on how the designation works and its insurance impact.
Director of Capital Projects and Development Engineering, Kyle Schneiderjan, says the City of Amarillo participates in the National Flood Insurance Program.
One of the requirements of participating in that program is that bodies of water that are inside our boundaries get mapped. They get basically mapped, and there's a statistical flood boundary that gets established for each of the bodies of water. It's typically called the 100-year floodplain.
Schneiderjan says mapping revisions are made regularly, and development inside the floodplain has to have an equal and opposite offset. The city follows a post-development model.
There was an assumption made that everything that was contributing water to that boundary had already been developed. It was post-development. And so we've already accounted for the added asphalt or added rooftops in the model to establish that statistical 100-year chance event.
A spokesperson with FEMA says, in part, quote, flood maps are snapshots in time designed to show minimum standards for floodplain management and the highest risk area for flood insurance. They're not predictions of where it will flood and do not show where it has flooded before. Schneiderjan says Playa Lake 7 and Martin Broadway completed projects that changed floodplain designation.
So we did an excavation in Playa 7, and that excavation lowered the regulatory floodplain by about 1.7 feet. So if we had not done that excavation, statistically the water level out there right now would be 1.7 feet higher than it currently is.
If land is no longer deemed to be in a floodplain, flood insurance may not be required.
All that really means is that your bank or your loan holder is not requiring you to have that coverage, but it does not preclude you, it doesn't keep you from getting coverage yourself.
In regards to Playa Lake 7, Schneiderjan says only a small piece is the city's property and the rest is private land, so there is no maintenance provided by the city, and the only authority the city has over private property is regulated development inside the 100-year boundary. Live in studio, Maya Clark, Local 4 News. Jackie.
Maya, important information there. Thank you. A spokesperson with FEMA said in part, quote, flood maps are dynamic and do need to be updated, but the age of a map does not necessarily reflect its accuracy. FEMA readdresses the studies behind each map every 5 years to see if the engineering data and hydraulic models that were used to create it still meet current engineering standards. Areas that need to be updated are identified in a process that's coordinated at the regional level with state and local partners.